Welcome back. The holiday season is often associated with joyous moments of laughter, love, and celebration. However, for those who are grieving the loss of a loved one this time of year can be difficult as it may bring feelings of sadness, loneliness, and isolation. MJH's health system offers free bereavement education and support for up to 13 months after the death of a loved one. The director of Integrative Medicine and Bereavement Services at MJH's health system, Marguerite Metzendorf, joins me to discuss. Marguerite, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, as I mentioned, the holidays for most people is usually like a joyous, occasion. But why may the holidays be difficult for individuals who have experienced loss?
Well, again, just to share with you, as the director of, bereavement services, I work with a team of both nurses, I would say music therapists and art therapists, as well as grief counselors. And, we're very familiar with this. We work with people before and after the death of a loved one. And particularly, my team and I try to really help people, work through these important and special days and to get through everyday life as they're grieving. And we know, the holidays in general, traditionally are difficult because they're very stressful. We're running around and, they produce and, cause so much stress because of the expectations. And I think a lot of times, when we're grieving, the feelings are intense, and we're often overwhelmed and exhausted. So the sounds and the sights and the smells of the holidays can be quite triggering. So I think it's important that we come up with like a coping plan and, maybe we can talk about that.
Now, I want to know a little bit more, more specifically about people who have loved ones in hospice care. Can you first explain, for those who don't know what that is? And then how does this affect families who lost those in hospice
Yeah.
care?
Well, hospice care is a form of health care. And what we do is we assist people at end of life to be pain free and to be comfortable and have quality days for however long they are to live. We provide nursing care and physicians and home health aides and array of a team that comes in to help support the family in caring for their loved one at home. And I think, as again, for most hospice families, I think really their focus is on keeping their loved ones comfortable and pain free and trying to make the most out of each day with them, more meaningful, and to really just appreciate the time that they have with one another. Often, a lot of times, a family has to really assess, is my loved one, do they have the energy to welcome company or perhaps, join in the festivities? And I think, we really got to follow our loved ones, lead. Is it something that they can, withstand? Do they want to have a big celebration, to have, a forever moment? Or do they prefer to be quiet, home alone, with just, the immediate family, visiting? And I think it's really important, that family members, include them in that discussion, see what's manageable and what's not.
And I thank you so much for like kind of bringing that up because I think for a lot of people, a lot of people normally just want things to go back to normal, right? And so they
Right.
just pretend
Hmm.
sometimes like, oh, let's just do things how we
Hmm.
normally do. And I think it's so important, as you mentioned, to kind of include that family member and see what
Right.
they would like to do.
Right.
I could imagine this is possibly one of the coping strategies, but if not, can you explain some of what those coping strategies are as we
Hmm.
approach the holidays?
Right. I think, foremost, I always tell, grievers when we're working with them, try to find, supportive and patient people that really understand what you're going through. Sometimes listening to music can be very therapeutic. Even, listening to our loved ones' favorite songs, can help us, kind of emote our feelings and get connected to our feelings. Sometimes, we really, need to be, kind to ourselves and to make sure we're asking for what we need. I often tell people maybe, get something that belonged to your loved one to carry it with you so you can feel connected to them. So whether it's a scarf, a watch, or a ring. And I think most importantly, don't be afraid to ask, if you need support. Go to a friend, go to someone in your community or a church leader. And perhaps it's a time to really, join a grief support group or, talk to a grief counselor or, Even, look in your community and see if there's a workshop on coping through the holidays. Anything that can help you better understand what you're experiencing, I think is really good.
Right. And I also want to add that I know that a lot of people sometimes they'll feel alone during this time.
Mhm.
But, this is actually something that so many people go through.
Right.
And it's not like a single incident
Mm,
or this person is doing this alone. There's so many people going through the same thing. So I 100% agree, like looking for support
right.
where you can find it that's in a healthy way, I could imagine is only going to help.
Mhm.
Now, what are some do's and don'ts?
Uh, I usually focus on when I talk to families, really try to not, overcommit yourself. I think it's important to make sure that you kind of have a plan in ahead of time when you go into family gatherings. It's certainly okay to accept an invitation or not. You can always change your mind last minute. Really give yourself permission to be able to do that. You can say no. No is, a full sentence. Not at this time. I really don't think you also need to explain that to somebody. Your family and friends should understand, where you're at. And if they don't, it's really not your problem. It's okay. Give yourself that freedom not to put that kind of pressure on yourself. One of the other things I say is don't overindulge. A lot of times we tend to do that as a stress mechanism. And I think it's really important to practice self-care. This is the time to take care of yourself, and that may mean taking long walks, perhaps calling a friend, getting a massage, reading a book. Really do these things to help you stay balanced.
Now, how can people honor the memory of their loved one through the holidays?
Mhm. Well, I think to remember that it's okay to talk about your loved one. It's really important. It's a way to honor them, but it's a way to comfort yourself. I think also it's important for you to share what your wishes are with your family. It helps you kind of clarify what it is that you need to do for yourself. Um, I think that it's important, when it comes to the holidays to um, to be inclusive and to bring other people into the conversation to help you through the holidays. Mm.
Now, people often forget that although kids enjoy the holiday season, they are also affected by the loss of a loved one. Can you just talk a little bit more about, that experience and share some tips to help kids and teens cope with
Mm.
grief?
Yeah, I think children are often the forgotten griever in a lot of ways. And again, it's just what I just said too. It's involving them in the conversation and asking, inviting them in the planning of what the holiday or tradition would like to do. I think we have to also help them understand that it might have to be tweaked or adapted because your loved one is no longer here. Someone else may need to fill that role. And perhaps someone else may need to string the lights or read the, favorite bedtime, holiday story. It's important, that they do understand that this may change just for this time period, but next year it may be different. And I think what is really, really important is whether they're school age or teenagers or young adults coming home from college, that we ask them, what are 4 or 5 things that you remember most about the holiday? Because I think that gives you insight into what means the most to them. And then again, that's a negotiation point. What is doable and what isn't? I think very importantly, as adults, we are role models. So let them know how you're doing, how you're feeling. If you're sad, say you're sad. If you're missing the person, tell them you're missing the person. That just creates a time where, it's okay and we're here to support each other. Kids are very adaptable, so they follow our lead. And if we can find constructive activities to put in place for them, whether it's making an ornament or a memory box, I mean, all these type of things help bring that loved one into the moment. And it's just a nice way to incorporate children into the holidays.
Now, as we talk about the holidays and even
Mhm.
New Year's, what reminders can we offer people as they plan ahead or scroll through social media while
Mm.
managing their grief?
Well, again, when I talk with grievers, I first and most talk to them about that. There is no wrong or right way to grieve. We all grieve very differently, and there's no timeline when we're grieving. So I think you have to figure out and navigate what speaks to you, what helps you. And sometimes people do choose to go to one of the platforms, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. And when we do that, we just want to be mindful of the messages that we're putting out, as well as the messages we might receive from others. Sometimes that can be triggering. If someone says something that doesn't really speak to where we're feeling at that time in our grief, also we should be mindful that, the TV often is an outlet. So we go to the TV maybe to escape our painful day. But even when we watch a lot of television, we can see a lot of things happening in our community or what's happening around the world. And that can be very painful as well. So I think we have to learn, and I talk with grievers about judging, gauging how much you're on the internet, how much you're off the internet. And again, taking breaks from it, taking a step back from it.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing some of
Thank
these
you.
tips and ways, just to help so many people who
Mhm.
are possibly going through a rough time right now. So thank you once again.
Thank you.
To learn more about the services that MJHS offers, please go to their website at www.mjhs.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.